If you clicked on this video, I'm going to assume that you've already begun on your copywriting journey. Maybe you've watched a few YouTube videos, maybe you know some copywriting formulas, maybe you've actually started practicing writing in a Google Doc. But the hardest part is yet to come, and that is outreach, which is the process of actually reaching out to prospects and turning them into clients. I remember as a beginner in my very first 3 months, outreach was one of the hardest things, if not the hardest, because you get left on red basically 99% of the time if you don't know what you're doing. So hopefully this guide aims to close that gap, get you more replies, stop getting left on red, and get you your first copywriting client. All that I ask is that if this video helps you, please like, comment, and definitely subscribe so I can keep bringing you more valuable content like this. Step 1 relates to the platforms you're going to be outreaching on. And my number 1 advice is don't be a freelancer. Okay, I want you to avoid all the quote-unquote freelance websites that you hear about. Things like Fiverr, freelancer.com, Upwork. I want you to put those in the back of your head, because as a beginner, sorry, but you're going to get smoked. And I was the exact same way. You get on Fiverr, you make your account, you make all these cool little thumbnails to set up your work. And then you realize that on Fiverr, you need 10 5-star reviews to get any work, right? And how do you go about getting 5-star reviews? You need work coming in, but no one wants to pay you to do work because you don't have any reviews. You see what I mean? It's a bit annoying. And I used to watch this guy called Mike Nardi, who I'm sure is great. All his copywriting advice revolved around Fiverr. As a beginner, Fiverr is just not it. And it's similar with Upwork as well. Upwork is a platform, kind of like a jobs platform, but you are pitching companies or job postings to write for them. You need to have a CV or a resume on there. And again, it's really competitive. So I work at a copywriting agency, right? And when we look for freelancers, we'll go on Fiverr and Upwork. And the purpose is basically get as much bang for your buck as possible. And for you, that means you're competing with hundreds of other freelancers that are willing to do the work for dirt cheap. And you basically have no leverage when it comes to your pricing, because the company can essentially go, okay, this person's asking for too much, let's go to this person instead. They've got so much choice, and as a beginner, it's just not it. Another one that is controversial, and a lot of you might disagree, is LinkedIn. And essentially, to reach out to people on LinkedIn, I believe you need to have the premium membership to actually send a certain number of DMs. And I've had LinkedIn Premium in the past to look for a job. It's just not worth it. It's so overpriced. And again, if you don't know what you're doing, the replies you get back are just not worth the spend. So I would generally avoid LinkedIn. One other thing to note with LinkedIn is not very personable. A lot of times people put up a guard or a facade of being really corporate and really it's a bit cringe, right? And you're going to need to change your entire LinkedIn profile to basically be that of a freelancer. If you're working another job, that's not really an option unless, they're really okay with it. So it can create a little bit of conflict there as well. So I would avoid Fiverr, Upwork, freelancer.com, and LinkedIn. Now for the 3 I recommend. And a lot of you might have seen the thumbnail and probably know at least 2, which are Gmail, or just the email, and Instagram. I'll get into the third one in a bit. With Gmail, personally, I found it is the best at getting responses and getting opens, because people associate their emails more with their professional life, if that makes sense. I'm sure you do as well. When you see some sort of email come into your inbox, usually you're going to take it more seriously than an Instagram DM, which is still not a bad method, but we'll get to that in a sec. Generally, emails get opened more, you get more replies, and people take you more seriously via email outreach. Instagram has an added benefit of adding personalization. What you want to do on Instagram is make an actual personal profile. Don't make an agency page or a company profile. And I made this mistake as well, because at the end of the day, people don't like corporate stuff, okay? When they want to come to you as a freelancer or a solopreneur, they're looking to see that you are your brand, right? They want to see that you're human and you feel like you can connect to this freelancer, essentially, that you're bringing into your company and trusting. So with a high level of trust, you need to have a personal profile, okay? And going back to LinkedIn, that's why it doesn't necessarily work, because it is a bit cringe and it is a bit forced and corporate. So Instagram is brilliant for that. The third platform that you would not have heard of, and it's in the thumbnail, the yellow one, is called Bumble Biz. You might know Bumble as a dating app, right? But they do have 3 sections of it. They've got Date, BFF, and Biz. Biz is basically your LinkedIn, but a lot less cringe, and it's actually really good at getting you warmed leads instead of cold leads. So what do I mean by that? On Bumble Biz, you swipe on people you're interested in, and essentially it is like a dating app where you match with someone that is interested in what you can provide, or you're interested in what they can provide, if that makes sense. And there's kind of this understated rule on Bumble Biz where people are either willing to network, they're on there to sell or be sold to. And again, when you're matching, it's very easy to start a conversation with that person because there's a mutual interest straight away. It's not like a cold outreach. Even for Gmail or Instagram, I've never seen anything like this. And I'll put some screenshots up. It's genuinely got me leads for my business, which is crazy. And this was when I was a beginner. Honestly, I've not seen any other YouTuber or content creator come up with this outreach method. It's something I discovered myself, right? Because business is all about, trying new things out, experimenting. This works for me, and I believe it can work for you. I've been on the app for about 1.5 years on and off, and I've genuinely only ever seen 2 other copywriters on that platform the entire time. So it is something that has not been capitalized on yet, and I want you to get ahead. All that I ask in return is that you subscribe and let me know in the comments if it helps you. I also plan to do a full Bumble Biz guide on how to actually set up your profile. The best intro, the best prompts, the best pictures. If you do want to see that, leave me a comment below. Just say something like, Omar, please drop the Bumble Biz guide, or something like that. So just a quick tip 1A essentially. How do you actually go about getting your leads? On Instagram, you just search up people that you're interested in. You might search fitness coaching, or I don't know, gym trainer, personal trainer, whatever your niche is. It could be fucking pencil cases or something, pencil makers, whatever. Search up those keywords and pages will come up. Email, you would likely need an email list. You can get that free. Some AI tools do actually try and do that for you. I don't know how effective they are. I have not used them. Besides that, you can get lists from Fiverr. You will have to pay though, or you can simply do your own research. One really good way to get started in email outreach, especially for your first client, is look for businesses in your local area, right? If you're not that fussed about a niche, just look around. For me, I've got barbers near me that have shit websites that need better copywriting. I've got PTs, there's loads of different companies. And so outreaching to them by email actually presents a really good opportunity. Finally, for Bumble Biz, you want to basically just swipe on people that you can serve, right? If they've got entrepreneur, founder, business owner in their Bumble bio, then you want to swipe right on them. I wouldn't really swipe right on people that you're not gonna really work with. You're kind of just wasting your swipes. And Bumble is a bit of a dick in that way. You only get probably 10 swipes in a day. So, make sure to use them wisely. Okay, now that we've got the platforms we're going to be outreaching on, we need to know what to send them, essentially. How do we outreach? So tip number 2 to you is don't pitch, okay? This is especially important for Instagram and email. Your essential focus and your purpose of your very first outreach message should be to get a response, to get a reply. On Instagram, you send the first message, that gets sent as an invitation to the person. And most times, at least for me as a beginner, they did not open my message. They probably didn't even see my message, or they deleted it. And again, for email, your first focus should be getting a response, because then you can actually reply back to that email and just create a chain of emails from there. For Bumble Biz, it's a lot easier, so I'm not really going to comment on that. But again, you want to say something that grabs their attention and warrants a response. They might have quite a few matches in their timeline, so you want to obviously stand out. And yeah, so now for the content of the message. This is still step 2 or tip 2. Basically, you don't want to be generic and say, hey, I can help you, or hey, I'm going to get you more of these. You want to have more of a personal tone, because you might think the opposite. You might think, oh, of course they're going to say yes, because I can get them more results, I can drive them, it's a net benefit for both of us, whatever. You're going to try and justify it, but at the end of the day, honestly, it's so overdone now. I mean, I did this stuff a year ago and most of my messages didn't get opened, even if I was promising I'd increase their click-through rate by 20% or their sales by 20%. One, a lot of people don't trust that generally, and part of the reason is because it's so common now. But 2, you're not being personable, okay? And I'm going to talk about this in the next step. Spoiler, it's about personalization. Personalization is the most important thing you can have in your outreach message. Without it, you honestly will just blend in, and you want to generally avoid having this almost straight to the point, or let's get straight to business. You want to avoid that mindset completely, Okay, so tip 3, as I've just spoiled for you, is personalization. And it's an absolute essential, but you must include one thing, which is a genuine compliment to that prospect. Because you can say, hey, I found your channel. You might even link their channel and say, yeah, your videos are really cool. But again, it's so generic. Like, I know you're doing that to every other person you outreach, right? I need something that makes me stand out and makes us connected. I kind of think the initial relationship is kind of like you've got a rock star and their fan, and it's like they're here, you're here. And through building trust with your outreach, you kind of start getting up there. When you meet the person or you get on a sales call, you get to here. When you start offering help, which we'll talk about later, you actually go up here, and it allows you to charge essentially. So this gap here is what you can charge. So the first step of that is including a personalized compliment. How has that person genuinely impacted you? Or have you shared their content with a friend and that's helped them? Something like that. You want something that's really specific. General compliments, we know, I know, the business owner knows, they're generally just bullshit. They're generally a way to try and connect and then pitch. So why do we actually want to include a personalized compliment? Besides what I've just said, is that number one, it's by far the most replied to sort of outreach message. By far, I've tested this myself. Email, Instagram, BumbleBiz, it just outperforms anything else, right? And it does develop that personal connection. And secondly, it gives the business owner validation, right? It makes the person feel good. And when we feel good, obviously we're more likely to respond and more likely to appreciate your message. I'll try and throw up some quick examples of how I've done that in the past. I don't want to waste your time, but let's get to the next tip. So the next tip, leading from that personalized compliment, you should hopefully get a response if you do things right. And where do we go from there? The next step, and again, we don't want to pitch them. So the next step is to add value to them for free and don't expect a response at all. I want you to send them something valuable that indirectly shows your copywriting ability. The way I used to do this was through Loom videos. Now, Loom videos are really good especially if you don't have a personal profile on Instagram. So I used to reach out through the Copy Clinic, which is like a kind of agency I created. It's not an actual company, it's just I was building up towards wanting to create an agency and things changed. But I would outreach on this company page, and by sending them a Loom video, it was a way for me, one, to actually practice getting better at what's needed on a sales call, which is obviously speaking to a camera, speaking with someone, and knowing what you're talking about, not really stuttering or messing up. And obviously I'm still working on that because I do mess up a little bit, but it does actually really help with that compared to the alternative, which I'll talk about in a bit. Reason number 2, and linking back to personalization, is just that they can see and hear you. It feels a lot more human than, again, if you go back and forth by email, they might not be as interested because they don't know who they're trusting, essentially. If they can't see or hear you or understand your tips, they're not really going to trust you. So again, personalization first, and then we build the trust by adding value to them. So the first way is a Loom video. The second way, and I learned this from Tom Stoick's video, is a Google Doc. And why does this work? One, you're still delivering value to the client. You might take a screenshot of their website, improve the copy. And what I want you to do is basically annotate the copy with what you've improved and why. It's kind of like in history class. I don't know if you studied history at one point, but they used to give us these sources on paper. They'd all be black and white. And part of the exam was to annotate the source and write an essay on it. So you had to annotate, underline certain bits and explain, like, I don't know, how they link or something. I can't remember. Yeah, that's kind of the idea you want here. You want to explain the changes you've made and basically indirectly show your knowledge to them. I personally prefer Loom videos, but you can always try Google Docs, see how that works out. Google Docs are definitely less time consuming, meaning you can send out more outreaches throughout the day and essentially get more work or get more projects going. Now, after you do send this value, they should say thank you. If they don't, then they might be a bit of a dick, but it's okay. Your aim should be to get them on a sales call or even meet in person if they're local. For example, I was on BumbleBiz for some time, and people do actually invite you to lunch, or they actually want to network in person, which is quite cool, and it makes it easier to actually pitch them, right? And we haven't talked about pitching yet, because I've kind of been saying to you, don't pitch. When you meet them in person or when you get on the sales call, that's when you pitch, because you've built the reliability, you've built the personalization, you've built the trust, and they can see from your Loom video or your Google Doc that you know what you're talking about. That's when you want to pitch, and you can kind of come to a agreement regarding price. If you do your first client for free, or if it's paid, it's going to be a lot easier to do talking about price in an actual meeting with them. Right, and the last tip, which I forgot to include before, but it kind of ties into the entire outreach overview, is that don't expect a response for any of your outreaches. And I know you've clicked on this video expecting that you're going to get a response from every single client or every single prospect that you outreach. It's not the case, you know. Generally, the response rate is low. This video will help increase that. But again, do not expect a single response out of anyone. And the reason I recommend this is that for me in the past, I had clients or prospects that I really wanted to work with, right? And I thought, I know exactly what's going to work for their site. I know how to help them. And they didn't respond. They didn't get back to me. And it puts you off outreaching a bit. But you have to understand, like the sales guys say, it is a numbers game. And again, if it's not this one, you're one step closer to the next one. So don't get disheartened, and also make sure to follow up on replies. A lot of times people are generally just busy and they might leave you unseen. I know the title is something along the lines of "Stop Getting Left Unseen" by your prospects, but it does happen generally just because people are busy. And in my experience, that's more common on Instagram than any other platform, because it's a lot of short form content and it's very easy to get distracted on there. So yeah, okay, I think that's everything. I really hope this video has helped you. I wish I had this video when I started, so if it did help you, again, please let me know down below. Please consider subscribing, and I can keep bringing you more great copywriting content. Also, let me know what you guys want to see down below. Let me know what's the most helpful stuff. If there is enough demand for it, I will create a video on it. And yeah, make sure to let me know if you want that BumbleBiz guide, because I think it will be super helpful. Again, it'll be completely free. Just let me know. All right, that's it. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.